I'm Frank Avila. I'm the attorney for both Jedidiah Brown on my right and Patricia Horton on my left. And that pictured was Zara Quadri, was here earlier. Also a client of mine. She's on the ballot, so she's already passed the hurdle. She had two objections to her by two different objectors, Shake and Tenenbaum. We won both of them. As of today, she's on the ballot. Thank God. We also have, who's not here today now, but I believe when I interviewed her previously, Elizabeth Betty, as she's known by, Elizabeth Ibarra-Arias, okay? And so we've been really going through all these objection challenges, showing what's going on. This one's a little different. It's not the fraud necessarily at the Board of Elections in Jedidiah's case. It is the issue of a notary who may have violated her notary oath and broke the law and trying to assist her candidate. So he met her, did not know her previously, went to her, and then she then, after some issue, sheets were notarized, said that I'm the wife of the best friend of the alderman. And now they're using an affidavit and trying to invalidate a number of sheets. The reason that's problematic is we don't want to encourage a setup where people sabotage other people's campaigns, violate their oath of office as a notary. She's the one who broke the law, because if she saw a sheet that wasn't that person, she said, hey, that you made a mistake, that's not that person's. Because a candidate or a newcomer, not a newcomer, but people who are not familiar with all the legal issues, do something. It's not their responsibility, it's the notary's responsibility to sign in front of the notary, because that's the notary, they should know the law. My clients are not the notaries. There's no notarial issues with Patricia, but in his issue, they're alleging a notarial issue. The problem with notarial issue, it's a setup. And they got an affidavit from the notary, who again is the wife of the best friend of the alderman. I'm very disturbed by that. Moreover, the other thing I'm disturbed at is that these objections go on fishing expeditions. They throw mud against the wall, see what will stick. I want to use a different term, but we're on TV and a family-friendly audience. I want to be sensitive to that. So when you go on the fishing expedition, it takes time and money and effort, and that creates a very high bar for the candidate, uncertainty for the candidate, and the candidate cannot raise money, he cannot campaign because he's stuck down here or up there sometimes at these elections hearings. We're at 69 West Washington. We're on the 6th and the 8th floor are the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners. 5th floor is the electoral authority of the county, administered by now Karen Yarborough, formerly David Orr, the clerk of Cook County. And then in the basement, the lower level of 69 West Washington, in two locations, is the usual hearings, although sometimes there's hearing elsewhere. And the board meetings are on the 8th floor of 69 West Washington in the boardroom room of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners. So now we extend these out where people cannot raise money, people don't want to give money to somebody who may be off the ballot, whereas an existing challenge, and it goes on and on and on and on. And so the delays cost the client money and time he can be campaigning, because this is a winter campaign cycle. It's very short. It's not even as long as the primary, which usually is in March 17th, March 20th, something of that nature. So it varies. But this one goes to the last Tuesday in the month, which I think is February 27th this cycle, 26th. Yes. But sometimes it's 26 because of the leap year in the shortened month of February. You have 26, 27, 28, 29 that sometimes these elections are held on. So you have a very, very short cycle, because by the time you get your petitions, it's after Thanksgiving. By the time you file your petitions after Thanksgiving, then you challenge. Then it's Christmas, then it's New Year's, then you got the cold. So you only have a brief window of about 6 weeks to campaign. And then during that preparatory time, you have to do some preliminary campaigning, set your people up, and fundraising. And then if you're under a challenge, you can't campaign and you can't fundraise. And now you're only on the ballot. That happened last cycle with one of my clients, Jedidiah Brown. After a long 2-week hearings, I eventually got her on the ballot. She was only on, but only 5 days before election. The hearing officer denied me. Terrible hearing officer, horrible hearing officer, this fraudulent, this almost criminal in my belief, in my estimation. Then the board that literally was ignorant, knew nothing. Then the administrative level at the circuit court for ministry review, that decision that misstated facts, that were incorrect facts. And then finally the appellate court overturned it. But because she was only on the ballot for 5 days, she couldn't campaign and fundraise for the previous cycle. Only woman on the ballot, and she might have won, or the election may have had a different result. And people who are campaign consultants for her, for one of her opponents, also worked in David Orr's office, causing a severe conflict of interest. And then they messed up the petitions, and they made allegations that were not true. And then she was accused of all sorts of horrible things which affected her name, and I was able to clear her name up. And then on election day, and I'm early voting, they told us she was off the ballot. So on election day, they're telling people she's off the ballot. They were disenfranchising voters and disenfranchising this candidate. In this case, with Jedidiah Brown, who's a very well-known activist, and they're very afraid of him, we have a situation where they're doing an objection, we're destroying everything, the kitchen sink. Everything's being thrown out there and seeing what will stick so they could try to find something to knock him off the ballot. And then a setup, a breaking the law by somebody just to hurt him. And that's not right. And there has to be some consequence to that. With that, I'm going to turn over the mic to Jedidiah Brown, activist, a very amazing young man, along with a number of young men like William Calloway who've come up in recent years. And he's a candidate for 7th Ward Alderman, City of Chicago, and my client. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And I'm definitely grateful for the many candidates that are running for public office that are giving voice, like Pat Horton here and many others. That lets me know that I'm not standing on an island in this. This election challenging process. The challenging process is antiquated. It is easily subject to abuse by machine candidates that engage in politics. And it is just anti-democracy. This is, as I've stated several times, the crux of democracy is ballot access. And so for me, when I have an incumbent who is engaging in manipulation using people in their official capacity to commit collusion and suppression and fraud, then that creates a concern for how they conduct themselves as an elected official. And then to see here with the same standards by which we're held, when you have Pat Horton, who basically is objected by a person that does not exist as a registered voter or as a resident of where they stated. That's the very type of thing that could get us knocked off for the ballot. If we didn't live where we registered to vote, we would not be able to file as a candidate. But then when you see the halls of governance here uphold a challenger who in good faith couldn't even articulate that they even seen the petitions that they're supposedly challenging, that is a problem. And for me, now to have come out of the records exam, to have gotten over 381 signatures above what's required of me, and to now have my opponent try to throw more allegations just to lock me up in this process, that is actually, it's unfair to us as candidates. It's unfair to the democratic process. It's unfair to the taxpayers who have to spend money to have people down here going through these frivolous challenges. They know that the winds are blowing for transformation in the city. Not too long ago, one of the longest serving Alderman Ed Burke was just charged for alleged attempted extortion. And we have seen people fall from the grace in the places of power, and the machine knows it. So what they're doing is they're trying to limit the choices that the citizens have so that they can keep their machine politics going, and that's what we're speaking out against. And we're not going to be silent as we haven't been. So that's what I'm facing, that's what I'm dealing with. But I'll tell you this, we knew that this was going to be a fight. and we're prepared for it. We've never shied away from it, and we just want the voters to wake up to the vices that the machine politicians have taken on, and to make sure come February 26th that they vote against the machine and vote for people like myself and Pat and others who are actually from the people and understand the plight and the pain that we've experienced. And so with that being said, I guess I'm going to hand it.
I want to talk about something with Jedidiah. It's in relation. So Pat Horton has an objector that doesn't physically stay at the address, nor is he registered to vote. But the same thing's happening to Jedidiah that also happened to another candidate, Byron Cicho. And some may be brought in good faith, some may not. But when the candidate's residency is challenged, they try to get his utility bills, driver's license, and they have multi-day evidentiary hearings. We are not getting that same ability to do that to this objector. They're objecting, the hearing officers are not allowing it. And the hearing officers have to allow this to have an evidentiary hearing just as a candidate. The objector should not have a low bar to pass. It's easy. We're doing limbo. Or, excuse me, a high, let's see what we're doing. We'll do either way. Low bar to pass, you're jumping over. That's you can step over that. My candidate's got a bar like this, and we can do it because we're in the right. But now this takes more time. So my clients are in the right, but they're wasting their time, money. They got to pay me. They got to waste their time. They got to go upstairs on the 6th floor for record examinations. They got to pay people to help sometimes or get volunteers. And even if they're volunteers, you might have to pay their parking. And pay down in Chicago, if you park in a lot, it's $40. Even if you find street parking, you got to keep on pressing the app or putting the quarters in. You can't even put the quarters in. A couple quarters, like 5 minutes downtown. And any parking garage, even with WhatsApp, which Tony Preckwinkle just taxed, by the way. There's a tax on parking apps. You may not know about that. Is that it's a lot of money to come downtown for the average person from the south side, bring a group of 5 people to go defend your petitions, and then be day in, day out when you should be campaigning and raising money and speaking to your voters and connecting your voters to talk about issues that are important. And I said with Pat Horton, it's because we are going bankrupt. And that's why I like Alderman Carlos Rosa and his idea to extend the time you can pay, get payment plans, and don't double the fees. Because literally people are going bankrupt, getting pushed out of Chicago, becoming financially insolvent from parking tickets, red light camera tickets, and speed tickets that are very questionable with very short yellow lights. It's a trap. It's a setup. And it's a setup that oppresses the poor, causes ethnic cleansing and forced gentrification, and is trying to make the city with less minorities, and they're trying to make money off all these areas that have fallen in hard times. I saw a picture, I think it was an architectural photo, as Lee Bay. I'm assuming it's Bay, B-E-Y. I don't know him personally. It might be a Morris Science. A lot of names with B-E-Y are Morris Science. I don't know if he is or just a family from Morris Science. And he had a picture of Inglewood, 63rd Street, in my lifetime. This is in the 70s. And you saw Carson's and Sears in Inglewood, plus household financing and a jewelry store and restaurants, and it was and you saw cars, and now some of maybe before I was born too. I don't know when the picture was taken, but you're talking about a vibrant district relatively recently and what happened, let alone when you see pictures of well before I was born. Bronzeville and Harlem in the 20s. So what has happened that you have these vibrant business districts and now they're destitute areas? I don't think it's on accident. I think it's by plan. It's been by design to push out black people, allow developers to buy it for pennies on the dollar and make a ton of money like they've done with public housing. And it's, if this was Bosnia or Albania or somewhere else like that, they call it ethnic cleansing, but this is Chicago. So Rahm, billion-dollar con job, Daley, Richard Daley or Richard John Burge Daley, or Rahm, 16 shots in the cover-up, Emmanuel, or Speaker Madigan and his 3,000 affidavits, Madagascar and all these taxes. Most other states, people would go into jail. But here we don't call it ethnic cleansing and forced gentrifying. That we call it, capitalism. And you comment on, you posted this on your Facebook just the other day. I think it's 200,000 African Americans have been pushed out, for over 200,000, and about 100,000 Hispanics. That's right. And this is not done on accident. It is done on purpose. And that's why they're trying to stop these independent voices. Do not think they are not. And I also, with Dr. Willie Wilson, I don't know if these two candidates are. Some of them may be, some of them may not be. But I'm with him for mayor. He supports legalization of marijuana, a city-owned casino, return to Meigs Field, and he's for all Chicago. He's been in Ukrainian neighborhoods, Polish-American, Ukrainian-American, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Cuban, everywhere. And his proposals on mental health by psychiatrists and doctors are amazing. We should restore the mental health clinics. If we restore the mental health clinics and services, I believe crime will drop. I believe the powers that be, the real estate brokers, the elitists, the oligarchs, the Illuminati, which Rahm is part of, are actually causing an increase in crime to cause moving out of the neighborhoods so his real estate developers and friends can go in and get those catfish corners gone now, where all the poverty should go on the west side. That's gone. Where's Army and Lou's? Where's Edna's? Where's Gladys's? Anything in the Hispanic community? Pilsen, you're down Pilsen, I see hipsters and thrift stores. Now, I don't mind some gentrification, and I don't mind mixed race, multiracial, because I'm a product of that. But what I don't want is forced. What I don't want is economic oppression and dislocation on purpose. I'm for capitalism, but I'm also for what's right and not socialism for the super, super rich. Thank you.